What's up, guys? My name is DJ Swivel, and we're back for another week of Just the Tips. On this week's episode, we're going to be digging into my mix bus. What do I put on my master fader when I'm ready to finish a mix? But before we get started, hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment, do what you got to do. Let's dig into it. What's up, guys? I am DJ Swivel, and like I mentioned in the intro, this episode of Just the Tips is all about my mix bus. I've got a song here. We're just going to dive right in. I've got a song here. This is a song that I co-wrote and produced with a couple friends of mine, Roy Lenzo, who co-produced Rodeo, and my friend Bailey, who's an incredible singer and songwriter. And yeah, so this is sort of like, this isn't even a finished mix, but I'll just quickly sort of show you the session here. There's a lot of stuff happening. But the focus is the mix bus. So we're just going to scroll down here and get into the mix bus. This is a very typical mix bus, but I want to show you the thought process behind it. So, you know, my mix bus changes oftentimes, but lately this has been the combination of effects that I've been using. I've been using the Slate FGX. And I really like this mostly for this transient modulation. You know, it's got a bus compressor, but it has this low punch and detail, which allows these like high frequencies or low frequencies to really pop out. So you can change sort of the shape of your mix a little bit. So I love that. And then I will typically run it through an Ozone. In this case, I'm using Ozone 8. I think I have Ozone 9 as well, but when I finished this song, I was using Ozone 8, so no sense in changing it. And then I will finish it off with a FabFilter Pro L. So this little black line here, this is like a little glitch that Ozone does. So if anybody from Isotope is watching, figure it out. This only happens with Ozone. I don't know why, but it's there. Look, it wants to change colors. Like, yeah, anyways. Okay, so without further ado, let's dig into it. What am I doing here? Well, let's take everything off and just let's listen to like maybe a chorus section with some drums. So let's listen from about here and just listen to what's going on.
You think it's all fine, but the flame and the rain is at an all time. Look at me now, it doesn't feel right, but the way that you say it got.
Cool. So it sounds all right. It sounds pretty solid, but now we want to just finish it off. Your master fader, your mix bus, that's like sort of the finishing touch. You want to make sure that when you deliver that mix, it's, you know, all the vocals are in the forefront, the drums are hitting, and aside from getting a good mix, that like mastering stuff is really what, you know, brings everything to life kind of. So, let's dig into it. What do I have going on? So I usually go with this, the Stevens Mastering Hard preset, and then I make adjustments from there because I like a more aggressive compressor on the master bus. But it's not, again, it's not too aggressive because the threshold is like very, very light. But I find I get better attack out of my drums with this sort of setting. So we have like a medium to medium slow attack. That allows the transients of your kick to really pop through. And we have a very, very quick release. And you'll see the threshold is like at 0. We're going to get about a dB of compression from this. But we're also doing some multiband compression on Ozone. So, and then finally we have a limiter. So there's actually 3 layers of compression here. All right, let's hear what it's doing.
It doesn't feel right, but the way that you say it got me all night. Let's go all the way, turn it up, break me down, build me up, you brought me down, just to ride the way through the pain. We gon' find a way.
So you can see we're just getting about 1 dB of compression, even less. It's a very soft ratio. And this is just to sort of control the transients and yeah, just make sure we're not having any problems. Now you'll notice that my master bus is clipping here. It's not actually clipping because we're in 32-bit floating point. So that allows us to do gain staging, you know, essentially above 0. So in the end, it will be at 0 and you're not going to hear any clipping from that. So don't worry about that. I know back in the days that was a big no-no, less of a problem nowadays. Okay, so I just want to show you what this low punch in detail does. So let me go towards like the final chorus here where the loudest parts are.
Why you leaving me? You think it's all fine, but the flame and the rain is at an all time. Look at me now, it doesn't feel right, but the way that you say it got me all night. Let's go.
Can you kind of hear what that low punch is doing? It's just allowing those kick drums to really have a little bit more of a bump in that, 120 to 140 hertz range. And then let's hear what the detail is doing.
You think it's all fine, but the flame and the rain is at an all time. Look at me now, it doesn't feel right, but the way that you say it got me all night. Let's go all the way, turn it up.
So you can hear as I make it more aggressive, you hear the hi-hats stick out, you hear the transients of the claps and snares stick out. So obviously this is too much. I usually have both of these around somewhere between 30 and 50%. So that's usually a good mark for me, somewhere around this like 4 setting. So let's move on. That's what I've got on the FGX. Let's see what is happening on the Ozone. Okay, so the Ozone is a chain of 5 different elements. The first thing is a multiband compressor. And what I do here is I have a 4-band multiband compressor. I'm doing some slight gain adjustment, which is almost like just a very soft EQ, and then adjusting the compressor on each. And I'm not getting much compression. It's really just sort of taming any frequency that decides it wants to, pop out and have more of a moment than it needs. So let's hear what that's doing.
You think it's all fine, but the flame and the rain is at an all time. Look at me now, it doesn't feel right, but the way that you say it got me all night. Let's go all the way, turn it up, break me down, build me up, love me down, just to ride the way through the day, we gon' find a way out.
So I'm not getting much compression, I don't know, this is maybe 1 dB. So again, not much, but enough to just tame certain frequencies. Then I have a 4-way, basically a multiband imager. This was sort of spread before I released spread. And I'm sort of lowering any stereo image stuff below 140 here. Boosting some of the lower mid stuff just a little bit, nothing too crazy. There was a lot of stereo image in the upper mids, and so there's a bit more happening, and then a little bit more on the top. Oftentimes what I'll do for this though, sometimes like this just sounded right on this song, but sometimes what I'll do is, and why don't I just put a second instance of it just so we can see what it does. Yeah. So oftentimes what I'll do is sort of have the lows, I will make a little more mono. I'll leave the lower mids sort of by themselves without touching. And then I'll give a little boost to the upper mids, and then the upper I'll boost a little bit more. And so what it does is it sort of fans out all of your frequencies so that the brightest sections of your song are the furthest to the sides. The slightly less bright but still bright is a little bit more spread out, and then your lower mids and your lows are either more mono or just left alone. And so that creates more separation between frequencies. So that's a setting that I would frequently use, and this might be a little high here, but it might be something more like this. But in any event, I'm not doing that today. So let's close that and open the other one back up. Okay, So let's see if we can hear what that imager is doing.
You think it's all fine, but the flame and the rain is heading on.
It's a big session, so.
You think it's all fine.
Oh wow, it really wants to give me a hard time right now. Okay, let's try one more time.
You think it's all fine, but the flame and the rain is heading on time. Look at me now, it doesn't feel right, but the way that you say it got me all night. Let's go all the way, turn it up.
So you can hear it's subtle, it's not doing too much, but it is creating a little bit of frequency separation, which I like. So then I've got a little bit of tape saturation, nothing too crazy. You know, just there's a bit of drive on it, but nothing that's gonna be overwhelming. I'll just do a quick A/B on that.
You think it's all fine, but the flame and the rain is heading on time. Look at me now, it doesn't feel right, but the way that you say it got.
So yeah, this is a huge session, so that's why that's happening. But you know, this tape saturation just adds a nice little bit of edge to it. Nothing too crazy. Then this spectral shaper is just taming like the lowest of the lows. Everything below 40 hertz. So I'll solo just so you can hear what it's taming. So if you don't have good speakers, you might not even hear what that is taking out. But it's just the lowest of the low, and that's just to clean up that bottom. You know, sometimes that stuff can just get messy and muddy, especially in like a club or some sort of system with a lot of sub. This stuff can just become a problem. And so typically I will tame all that stuff like way at the bottom. And then finally, I'll add an EQ. And I do some additional taming. Now this is, you know, below 30 hertz. But I'll just move that a little bit. That's okay though, it was around there. And that just tames some of the bottom. Then what else are we doing? Well, on this second band here, we're just boosting around 120 hertz, 117 hertz. That's just increasing more of the punch in the kick drum. And then on the band 4, around 470 hertz, we're just taking a little bit out, about a dB and a half. And that's just some of those boxy frequencies that we don't like. And then a very, very soft sloping shelf around 10K. And I'm only boosting it a half dB. That just adds a nice, smooth, shiny brightness to the top. But again, very, very subtle. At the end of the day, if you got your mix right, you shouldn't have to do too much here. You shouldn't have to go crazy so long as the mix is good. If the mix isn't good, then yeah, you might have, a mastering engineer might have a little more work to do to get it right. But in this case, like, we're not doing any crazy large brush strokes. This is all very subtle stuff. So let's hear what this post EQ is doing. I will bypass it and then turn it back on.
You think it's all fine, but the flame and the rain is heading on time. Look at me now, it doesn't feel right, but the way that you say it got me all night. Let's go all the way, turn it up.
So you can hear it adds a little bit of shine up top, cleans up some of this bottom or lower mids, and gives a little more punch. Yeah, it's subtle. This is kind of a setting that I use often. And it's sort of like my universal setting, but of course I do go in and dial it in. Now this is just a song that we are pitching, so this is not for an artist or any artist yet. And so that's why it's still technically a rough mix. Like, this isn't a fully mixed song. But yeah, I do, when I'm pitching a song, I want it to sound as good as it can. Without, you know, spending 2 days pulling my hair out trying to get like the perfect mix how I normally do. Okay, so anyways, moving on. Typically what I will do here, actually, I reversed it for the sake of this demonstration, but I'll usually lower this output here just to give a little bit more room for the limiter afterwards. But I want, before we get to the limiter, because that makes everything sound good, it makes it louder and compresses it, I want to just play you what it sounds like with and without these first two plugins, okay? So I've got a little quick key that will just bypass certain plugins. So where is it? There we go. Okay, so let's hear it.
You think it's all fine, but the flame and the rain is at an all time. Look at me now, it doesn't feel right, but the way that you say it got me all night. Let's go all the way, turn it up, break me down, build me up, you brought me down just the right way through the lane. We gon' find a way out.
So you could see me bypassing. Anytime it's blue, it means it's bypass, and when it's white or gray here, it means it's on. So you could kind of hear what it was doing. It's subtle, but it definitely helps, finish off and polish off the song. Now let's see what we're doing on the limiter. Honestly, not much. I'm just boosting it like 3.5 dB. I use this I like this synth pop extra impact preset. I use that a lot. Sometimes I'll adjust the attack and release on it. In this case, I'm betting I didn't. But let's just hear what that sounds like.
You think it's all fine, but the flame and the rain is at an all time. Look at me now, it doesn't feel right.
Oh. Again, this session's, over 100 tracks, so. It's really hard time to finish this, but I think you guys could hear it. Let me see if we can get it to go one more time.
You think it's all fine, but the flame and the rain is at an all time. Look at me now, it doesn't feel right, but the way that you say it got me all night. Let's go.
And now let's quickly just hear it with everything off, and then I'll turn everything on.
You think it's all fine, but the flame and the rain is at an all time. Look at me now, it doesn't feel right, but the way that you say it got me all night. Let's go all the way, turn it up, break me down, build me up, you brought me down just the right way through the lane. We gon' find a way out.
There you have it. That's my mix bus. This is very standard, very typical for most songs that I do. And then when I print a mix and I send it to mastering, I will get rid of the limiter so that I'm just doing the basic EQing and stuff that I like, but still giving the mastering engineer a couple dB of headroom to work with. So that is the process. That is my mix bus. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment. See you in a bit. Peace.
Look at me now, you think it's all fine,